Sorry. Subcommittee will come to order. Good afternoon. I want to welcome everyone to today's Public Witness Day hearing for the Subcommittee on Military Construction, Veterans Affairs, and Related Agencies. Today we welcome Mr. Adrian Adezato, the Deputy National Legislative Director of Disabled American Veterans, Mr. Carlos Fuentes, the Director of National Legislative Service for Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States, and Mr. Roscoe Butler, the Associate Legislative Director of Paralyzed Veterans of America. To best identify the needs of our veterans, we must hear from them and partner with those who know them best, our veteran service organizations. Today's witnesses work tirelessly to assist our veterans daily as they navigate the too often cumbersome VA system, the transition to civilian life, and the physical, emotional, psychological, and financial challenges our veterans face upon returning home. While VA has made great strides in recent years, we know our work is far from done. And gentlemen, it's been a pleasure to see you on a quarterly basis at Speaker Pelosi's meeting with the VSOs. That's always really helpful for me to be able to, hear all of you at once and get a real-time snapshot of the issues that you're concerned about the most. So I look forward to continuing to participate in those, and appreciate all of you joining us today. We look forward to your testimony, and I want to recognize Judge Carter for any opening remarks he might have.
Welcome. We're looking forward to what you have to say, and thank you for being here. Short and sweet.
Judge Carter has become a man of fewer words. So without objection, your written statement will be entered into the record. Please summarize your remarks in 5 minutes. Mr. Adezato, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chairwoman Wasserman-Schultz, Ranking Member Carter. I'd like first to clarify, I'll be just doing one oral statement, and we'll be here for any questions that you may have. The co-authors of the independent budget, that's DAV, PVA, VFW. We are here and pleased to present our fiscal year 2021 funding recommendations for the Department of Veterans Affairs, including advanced appropriation for fiscal year 2022. Now, to the untrained eye, the overall veteran population is in fact decreasing year over year. The public may wonder why VA's budget continues to increase, however, year over year. But simply, it's this, that less than half of the veterans come to VA for their earned benefits, you see. For those that do, their numbers increase year over year, and so do their needs. And our own fiscal year 2021 budget estimate affirms that these needs are growing. The IB recognizes the work done by Congress in securing stable and predictable funding for VA by appropriating in advance $91 billion in discretionary dollars. We would like to recognize the administration's budget request for VA, which provides a 13% increase. We believe this request falls short of meeting true needs of America's veterans in light of the requirements put on the administration the agency with regard to the Mission Act, the increasing demand for medical care, claims and appeals, as well as the IT modernization and construction needs. For fiscal year 2021, the IB recommends $114.8 billion in total discretionary budget authority for VA. This recommendation is $4.4 billion more than administration's request and $17.3 billion more than the current fiscal year. Most of the increased funding recommendation will go towards, of course, VA medical care. It's about $13.6 billion, actually. Of this increase, more than 85%, or about $11.8 billion, would go towards in-house VA care. This large increase is driven by a current services estimate reflecting the impact of projected uncontrollable inflation on the cost to provide these services to veterans that are currently in the system. This estimate also assumes a baseline of the 3.1 pay increase, which actually comes out for VA a 3.6 overall increase, which Congress enacted in December 2019, as well as a projected increase of 65,000 new patients that we estimate VA will see in fiscal year 2021. We recommend additional projected medical fund needs for VA of nearly $2.1 billion. This is just for a handful of programs. We're talking about the prosthetics and sensory aids that a lot of veterans rely on, women veterans health care, VA's comprehensive caregiver support program, and to close the gap on VA's reported vacancies. VA's construction account is another major VA account the IB recommends additional funding. That's $3.9 billion, which is about $2.1 billion more than current funding levels to address serious construction deficiencies. Finally, the IB is recommending an additional increase of $1.2 billion to continue developing and deploying VA's electronic health record, as well as separately deploying a new VA scheduling system, which the field desperately needs. We recognize the administration budget request contains numerous legislative proposals, and the IB would like the opportunity to work with you, ma'am, sir, and your staff as you consider each of these proposals to ensure that veterans are front and center. I'll give you an example. IB proposes actually 4 benefits-related proposals that would reduce benefits or limit veterans' access to their earned benefits. There is one proposal which we do support, and that's the one regarding the VA-approved medical foster home that, funny enough, OMB scores as a cost savings for the department. Finally, we'd like to recognize the work of the subcommittee in amending prior budget caps to allow for increases in VA healthcare funding. We pledge again to work with the subcommittee, with Congress, and the administration to amend the existing budget cap and work for future caps to ensure this subcommittee has all the allocation it needs to meet the needs of our nation's ill and injured veterans. This concludes our oral statement. On behalf of the millions of veterans the IB's VSOs represents, we thank you for the opportunity. And my esteemed colleagues here, PVA and VFW, are ready and willing to answer any questions you have.
Thank you so much, Mr. Adesato. We appreciate your remarks about the independent budget that the VSOs are proposing. Mr. Fuentes, if I can just ask you a couple of questions. In the January 16th Congressional Quarterly article on veterans health care funding, you are quoted as saying, "We think that all of VA missions should be exempt." In that context, I took it to mean you were referring to Mission Act funding being exempt from the budget caps. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Have you committed your organization's change in views to the White House? Because that was not your organization's original position, and we very strongly urged from the outset of the Mission Act. I voted against the Mission Act because we did not have support for increasing the caps, and we knew we'd need those. So, I mean, I'm very glad that that's your position now. So, have you communicated that view to the White House? Because they are the only obstacle.
We have, and again, as colleague Adrian said, we thank you for your work on that issue, and certainly completely agree that these caps were certainly created way back before all of this was envisioned, but
Right.
also without the real understanding of being able to accommodate the large increase, about $11 billion was projected for 2021. So our recommendation has been, both to Congress and the administration, to exempt that specifically for 2021, 2020, for 2020 and 2021.
Right.
And unfortunately, that wasn't the case for 2020. We also saw that because of that, this
I wasn't-
subcommittee.
Sorry, I wasn't aware that you had recommended an increase in the cap for 2020, because that was our position, and it was one that we pushed pretty hard. It's a bipartisan, bicameral position, and like I said, the only obstacle we have right now is the administration. The issue with that we're facing, as you probably know, is that without a budget cap adjustment, we only have $2.5 billion in non-defense discretionary funds available for all 12 bills under the second year of the 2-year budget agreement. So if you can, given that the White House continually says how supportive they are of the veterans and veteran service organizations, and that you have hit their ear, I don't recall any communication from you in the FY20 budget, appropriations process, communicating that there was support for increasing the cap. If I missed it, then I certainly apologize. I think my whole staff missed it too, Judge Carter. So now that we are all on the same page, can you communicate your support for that? Because we could do it. And if we're able to do it in this process, then we would get quite a bit of relief that is badly needed.
You have a commitment to do so, and we're in the process of setting up those meetings to make sure that the request has been received.
Good, because we don't want to be in a situation where we have to cut, as the White House budget proposes, cut other services that veterans in other programs use, in order to be able to, fund the needs at the VA. The president's budget is not realistic without the cap adjustment, and I told that to the secretary. We all expressed our concern, certainly desire to do as much as we can to help veterans. We just need some relief here to be able to do that.
Madam Chairwoman,
Yes.
if I may, just
Sure.
to clarify, what we supported in 2020 and 2021 was a proposal by Senator Leahy and Shelby to essentially exempt from the caps, not necessarily adjust it. We had proposed to also do the adjustment, which, fortunately occurred 2020 and 2021. We're certainly not happy that it didn't occur to the extent that we would allow for the increased need to be met with VA. But we continue to support exempting Mission Act spending for medical services, community care, and specifically for infrastructure from the caps. The exact number, I think we still need to decide. I know that VA was able to either provide the exact number either.
You support the Shelby Leahy proposal on dealing with the Mission Act caps?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so that's what the White House OMB opposes. I mean, we support it too, and so if we can get that adjustment accomplished, we would be in a much stronger position. We don't want to have to rob Peter to pay Paul. So thank you, appreciate that. Judge Carter?
I agree. The caps deal was it rose out of the fact that we thought we could put together a super committee. We could actually get along and do their job, which we proved that we couldn't, and both parties failed. I'm not blaming anybody for bringing it down, because from what the chairman told me, all parties were guilty, and it collapsed. And out of that, we got the caps deal. It's what they agreed to do if they didn't get the super committee to do it. So we're all in this together. Right now, it's a really bad thing in certain areas. Most of them have to do with our military and our veterans. And we got some cooperation late at the end of last year.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get some more this year. But right now, it's an election year, and I don't expect to see any major things go forward. I don't think the Democrats who run the place will bring it up. I don't think the Republicans will either, who run the Senate, until after the election. That's the real world. But we want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
And I appreciate what you say. And everything you represent is of major importance to us.
Absolutely.
I have the largest concentration of veterans in the state of Texas in my district, more than any other district in my whole state, and I'm just 2 counties. So I got a lot of veterans in 2 counties. So they're very, very important to me, and to the chairwoman.
Absolutely. Well, we certainly commit to doing all we can, no matter what, regardless of whatever hand we're dealt. So we'll put together the best budget, the strongest budget we can with the hand that we're dealt. But if you can go find us a few more cards, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, and the OMB's gonna change too,
Oh, that's true.
because
That's right. 'Cause
there's been an announcement.
yes, right. So maybe that'll help a little.
That might help a little bit
Yeah,
too.
exactly. And the fact that we have a chief of staff that is from Congress that didn't quite share the philosophy of his predecessor.
He's willing to say so.
Exactly. All right, so that's his.
That's a whole different world.
Right,
Yeah.
we can just cut ourselves off right there before we get ourselves in trouble. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your service to our nation's veterans, and we consider you partners and look forward to continuing to work with you. Hopefully in the short term, but as Judge Carter said, given that it's an election year, more likely in the longer term before we reach the end of this process.
You are semi-blessed because, quite frankly, if I have to pick one area where both parties agree, this is it.
That's right.
And that is a blessing because
No, exactly.
we don't agree on anything else.
No. I passed a note to Judge Carter the other day and told him that we had drawn that we won the subcommittee lottery when it came to the committee that we get to chair. and the kind of consensus we have here. We rarely argue even about the most controversial things.
We get along.
We really do. So we're
And if I may, I want
Please.
to thank you for that. We do recognize this, and we are fortunate that specifically the subcommittee, but also that you have a good working relationship with your Senate counterparts, which share that same type of, we're very fortunate.
And
so
I
thank you
just
very much.
finished 6 years of chairing Homeland Security, where I had to deal with that border literally day and night for 6 years. And I saw the chance to jump. And I jumped over here, and what happens? They start building the wall around me.
exactly. All right, well, I think it's probably this is a good place to gavel out, just so we can, so,
Thank you.
thank you all so much. The subcommittee stands adjourned.